Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Second Take. It is my first summer edition, my first Friday of summer. So glad to be done with school. So glad to be doing the show. Jill, how is everything?
Everything's good. The surgery went well. I'm good. Hopefully y'all can't tell anything different in my teeth, but surgery went well and I'm good. I'm on my road to recovery and all's good over here.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Glad I didn't have to put you on the 15-day DL. You are here. No time off from the show, and we're going to jump right in. So our first interesting story, it appears that Mike Tyson wants to come out of retirement and enter the world of professional sports again and join the MLB. Just kidding. Dodgers catcher Miguel Olivo decided to be like Mike Tyson and bite off his teammate Alex Guerrero's ear on Tuesday, and as a result of that, he has been released. I completely support the decision. I don't think teammates should be biting each other anywhere, especially ears. How is he going to listen to what you have to say if he doesn't have an ear? So
I mean, the thing that was so confusing about this is like, if you're gonna bite someone, like he really bit him to actually get some of his ear off. So I don't know what could have happened in that dugout. I don't know what was said, but surely nothing deserving of that. Get that off of your team. You don't need that because there's obviously something wrong upstairs if he's biting people's ears off.
absolutely, yeah. So great decision, Dodgers. I hope that they can get past this and have some success in the NL. Moving on, though, Bud Selig has voiced his concerns about the large number of pitchers who are requiring Tommy John surgeries. For those who don't know, Tommy John often happens to young pitchers who try to throw curveballs because their arms aren't fully developed. So I don't really know what he's going to do in terms of limiting the amount of Tommy John injuries that occur, but it's definitely not something good because there are a lot of young pitchers like Strasburg and other guys who've gone down because of that. So it's unfortunate, but I don't really know what you can do to fix it. You can't tell a pitcher to stop throwing a curveball.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do. It's obviously become a huge problem. There have been countless numbers of Tommy John surgeries recently. I remember I was looking on SportsCenter one time, and it just listed all the people who are requiring it now. And I see where he's going with that. Like, he doesn't want it to happen, but there's no way to prevent that. That's saying, like, you don't want ACL tears happening in the NFL. Well, of course you don't, but you can do preventative measures, but that doesn't mean it's never going to happen. You know, just like with the concussion rules, they changed, how you can hit a player and stuff like that, but that minimizes it, but that doesn't nullify it completely. I guess that's what he's looking into is what they can do to prevent more Tommy John surgeries, but as you said, you can't be like, hey, you're not allowed to throw a curveball anymore because that's a big part of baseball.
Exactly. So I don't really know where Bud Selig's going with that, but on the topic of Bud Selig, it's his last season. He announced it at the beginning of this season that he will be retiring. The MLB has formed a search committee for the next commissioner. Cardinals owner Bill DeWitt Jr. is in charge of that, so hopefully they do a good job and get a good commissioner for the sport. I look forward to it. Everyone knows I love the MLB, so hopefully we bring in someone good. We haven't talked much baseball on Second Take, so I want to update you guys on the standings. For the American League East, the Blue Jays are on top. They're currently on a 3-game win streak, and they are 1 game ahead of my New York Yankees. In the American League Central, the Detroit Tigers are at the top of their division. They're on a 4-game losing streak, but they're still 4.5 games ahead of the Minnesota Twins. They'll most likely take that division at the end of the season. In the American League West, the Oakland Athletics are on the top, 3.5 games ahead of the Los Angeles Angels, and they have the best record in the American League. And on the topic of the American League West, the Texas Rangers are 7 games back, which is rare because they're a very good baseball team we've seen throughout the years. Prince Fielder is also possibly getting season-ending neck surgery. The Rangers are talking how they might have to take this as a rebuilding season. They're not doing as well as they usually do. Hopefully they can turn things around. Without Prince Fielder, I don't really see it happening. We all know how talented he is. So I don't know. We'll see. On the topic of the National League Central, the Milwaukee Brewers are on top, 1.5 games of the St. Louis Cardinals. The National League West, the San Francisco Giants, who have won 2 World Series in the last 4 seasons, they are on top, obviously, 3 games ahead of the Colorado Rockies and the best record in the National League. And for the National League East, the Atlanta Braves are on top, 2 games ahead of the Miami Marlins. We'll have a lot more baseball updates coming with basketball coming to an end soon. Everyone knows baseball shares my heart with football, so can't wait to talk more baseball. Can't wait for my Yankees to get things together. We've been on a little losing snag lately. We've lost 5 of our last 10, meaning we've won 5 of our last 10, but I don't really like that. I want to see 10-game win streaks all across the board. So
yeah, I can agree with that. We were losing to the Cubs, really sloppy series against the Cubs, but I know what you mean. Yes, we won half of them, but we also lost half of them, and we don't like that as Yankees fans. We want to win them all.
Yep. All us Yankee fans know is success, and lately we haven't been experiencing the success that we want to experience. So we'll turn things around. That's enough baseball. And for the NBA, head coach hirings, the Golden State Warriors have hired Steve Kerr. They recently fired Mark Jackson, which I did not support at all. I think that Mark Jackson did a very good job in 3 seasons. He brought the Warriors to the playoffs twice and made them a very elite team. He brought in Andre Iguodala. Steph Curry's game really elevated. Klay Thompson's game elevated. The Warriors are a legit team now. So firing Mark Jackson, I don't support. I think Steve Kerr will do good things for them, but I don't know.
I thought it was a terrible move. I read somewhere that the Warriors had their best seasons under Mark Jackson. So the logic behind that, I don't get it. Mark Jackson is a great coach, though, and the Lakers are looking to hire a coach. That could be a good move. There are a lot of teams looking for a coach, maybe the Knicks, stuff like that. Great hire for the Warriors, but at the same time, was it worth it to get rid of Mark Jackson? I see the Warriors are trying to do, like, if you're not succeeding, you're out, which can work sometimes, but they were succeeding is the thing. They barely lost in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Barely. So it was a bizarre move, to say the least. Good hire. I mean, if you want someone to fill the spot, Steve Kerr is a great choice, but I don't understand the logic behind firing Mark Jackson at all.
Yeah, I don't think the Golden State Warriors organization was very fair to him. Again, the Warriors play in the Western Conference where you have San Antonio Spurs, Houston Rockets, OKC Thunder, LA Clippers. There are a lot of good teams. So realistically, the Warriors aren't going to be in the NBA Finals or even the conference finals with teams like that in their conference. So I feel the Warriors should have gave Mark Jackson some more time to make them better, bring in more players. But
I disagree with your statement, because I was looking at the Warriors this year. I was looking at 2 teams in these playoffs, and I was like, these are young teams, but these are about to be on fire next year, and that's the Trailblazers and the Warriors. I could see the Warriors going to the finals next year from what I saw in the playoffs this year. I don't know now with the new coach, everything, I don't know what's going to change, but I could have easily seen them going, because the way they play is incredible. They are such a fun team to watch. We all know this. Steve Curry is one of the greatest shooters of our time right now, and he's on fire, and that's a fire you can't put out. I could easily see them going to the really far in the playoffs next year from what I saw this year.
That's fair. I definitely do think that they're a contender, but at the same time, there are a lot of better teams. Not a lot of better teams.
We don't look at them as a dominant team. When you think the West, you're going to think Spurs, Thunder, Lakers, depending on the year. but yeah, I know what you're saying. You don't think Warriors, but we've talked about this before, that the West is the conference and the East is the weak conference, and that's what I've been saying. I pissed a lot of Heat fans off because I said on Twitter that I'll give the Heat props for being a great team when they go through the Western Conference Finals, and everybody was like, "Oh, rings aren't enough for you," and no, they're not, because who are you going through playing? You saw how easy it was. They had to play the easiest teams, and I don't think that's fair. I want to stick them in the Western Conference just for the playoffs.
I definitely would love to see that too. Actually, I think that there would be a lot more exciting series seeing the Heat play the Trailblazers or the Clippers.
No one wants to see a sweep. Like, when you watch the playoffs, no one wants to see a sweep. Sweep shouldn't happen in the playoffs because you're picking the best teams. So I think there's something wrong with that. I'm not saying we change the playoff system as a whole, but I'm saying let's have a little fun with it. Let's throw the Heat over there real quick.
Not sure how that would happen, but maybe you can talk to Adam Silver and see if he can work something out. He changed the whole All-Star weekend, so maybe he'll change the playoffs too. Moving on, going to some NCAA basketball before we come back to the NBA. The NCAA men's basketball national champion UConn Huskies signed Kevin Ollie to a 5-year extension. Great decision. He's coached them very well the last couple seasons. I see UConn being very successful in the next couple seasons with him as head coach and the players that they're going to bring in, as they're a great organization. Completely support the move by the UConn Huskies. So
yeah. I'm totally in support of that. As you said, they've been very good under Kevin Ollie, and why not sign him longer? He's winning. He's being successful. Great choice, and that's just going to help the recruiting even more. Yeah, I with college basketball, you see the same teams at the top every year, and there's a reason. They stay up there, and everybody wants to join in on the fun.
Yep, and a team that the UConn Huskies actually beat in the tournament, Florida, their coach Billy Donovan was talking to a couple NBA teams, but he chose to stay with the Florida Gators. I think that he's a great coach, and he'll continue to bring them some success. So good move by him. I'm sure he'd have some success in the NBA as well, but I think Florida did a good job in keeping him around. Moving on to the NBA draft lottery, it was a very, very interesting night. The Cavaliers were slated to have a 1.4 percentage of getting the first pick, I believe, and they ended up getting it. More of the picks, the Milwaukee Bucks have pick number 2, the Sixers have pick number 3 and number 10, Orlando Magic have pick number 4, Utah Jazz number 5, Boston Celtics number 6, Los Angeles Lakers number 7, Sacramento Kings number 8, and Charlotte Hornets number 9. So I think that the Sixers and the Cavaliers are in very good positions right now. The Cavaliers currently don't have a coach, so they have a lot of different directions they can go. After the season ends, they can look into free agency and then bring in good players. They're talking about maybe shipping around one of their last first-round picks. We know Anthony Bennett was a bust. They might trade Kyrie Irving to pick up some good players in return. There's also the speculation about LeBron James coming back. So there's just a lot going on in Cleveland right now, and a couple moves, and they could be a pretty legit team in the East. So I don't know. What are you thinking, Jill?
The thing about the draft lottery, a lot of people don't know this, is they literally have all these balls, and the teams just, picking up a ball. It's literally a lottery. And that's the way the NBA draft works. And the Cavs getting the first pick, as you said, they didn't have a high chance of getting it. People are starting to say the NBA is rigged because, we see the same teams at the top, whatever. I can see it. I also can't see it. And the thing that actually came into discussion is who has the better draft system. The NFL draft, if you have the worst, year, you're at the top. You lose all your games, have fun with that number 1 pick. And I was getting into a debate with somebody about which is better, which is a better system. And I personally like the way the NBA draft lottery works. I think that's a cool system to do. It's more fair because I've seen the NFL, the same teams are constantly, at the top few picks. You see Oakland in the top picks every single year. Every single year. They're getting these great players, and these players are just going to a team where they're nothing, And you can see it in so many different ways, and I'm honestly in the middle now after, hearing my friend's argument against it. It's a weird setup the way they've done these different drafts. You would kind of think the NFL and the NBA would try to be similar in their drafts, and they're polar opposites. The NFL draft has 7 rounds, and even if you're drafted, you're not guaranteed. That's something a lot of people don't know, is that you still have to get signed. They pick you up. That doesn't mean you're set. After the 3rd round, you're kind of in limbo with the team. And with the NBA draft, they have just 2 rounds, pretty simple. Every team gets a pick. 2 picks, 1 per round, and they go with it. But it's a very different setup, and it's kind of confusing. But as far as the Cavs with the number 1 pick, good for them. I could see them being successful if they work towards it. I think they need to stop firing their coach 17 times. But other than that, I think it's okay. But there is rumors about LeBron James wanting to end his career there. Again, when is he ever going to end his career? That could be next year or in 5 years. I don't know when he's planning on being done. So counting on LeBron to go to Cleveland, that's not the way any GM or coach should run that team. I think they need to pick up who's ever best in the draft and stick with it. I'm happy the Lakers got a pretty early pick. That could do some good for us, but as Armand and I discussed on Twitter the other day, a little trade rumor about Kevin Love going to the Rockets. A lot of Lakers fans were hoping he would go to the Lakers, and that doesn't seem to be happening with the draft pick number they got, because they would want to be trading with them. And 7 isn't the best, not the worst pick, but.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of points you made about the draft lottery, NBA draft lottery compared to the NFL. I think that NFL teams can just continue to tank and get good picks and then bring in good players and then decide, oh, now we're going to be good. We got all these good guys now. The NBA draft lottery does guarantee more fairness, although it's still the worst teams in the NBA who get the top picks, so it's somewhat similar, but I see where you're going. On the topic of the Cavs, they have a lot of potential with Kyrie Irving, Dion Waiters, Tristan Thompson, so we'll see what they do. Moving on, though, the Sixers also have a lot of directions they can go. Nerlens Noel was out for a lot of the season, so there's a chance of them bringing in a big man to support him so that when he goes out, they still have someone to play well. One standout player for the Sixers this year, Michael Carter-Williams, was named unanimously to the All-NBA rookie team, along with Victor Oladipo, Trey Burke, Mason Plumlee, and Tim Hardaway Jr., so congrats to them. Rookies doing great things in the NBA. And now, a topic that's going to hurt me to talk about a little bit, the current NBA playoffs. I'm going to talk about the Pacers and Heat first, so I don't cry immediately because we have a lot more to talk about. Pacers-Heat series is currently 1-1. The Pacers took the first game. The Heat didn't really look like themselves. They weren't playing defense. And then the Heat came back in game 2. They still didn't look all that great, but the fourth quarter, LeBron...
The Pacers had game 2. They had it. They were leading the entire game. And then it's just the last minute was just the Heat were like, all right, we're going to play now. I don't even have words for that because I've never seen a team blow it like that. The Pacers blew it. And just like you were saying, they did win game 1. They played. Like, the Pacers came out and you're like, that's the team that played all year. That's a team you've watched. That's a team that made it into the playoffs. Roy Hibbert, he showed up. We've missed him. It was great. They lost game 2 and they should have won it. It's a good series right now, but an issue I have right now is the commentators during this game, because every time another player does well, Lance Stevenson has dominated. He has been one of the best player on the court, but they're going to continue to say LeBron the best player on the court. And they're just shooting down every other player on the team, and I don't like that. And Dwayne Wade played a lot better than LeBron did in the second game. I mean, Dwayne Wade is the reason they won that game. But who gets the credit for it? LeBron James. Makes some shots at the end of the game. LeBron James won the game. It's a good series, and I'm happy that it's not a blowout. I don't know who's going to win it, because if the Pacers are going to keep leading the game and then losing it, well then I don't know what happened to them. I don't know what happened. It's also because their bench was playing terribly. So it's honestly their starters, and that was it.
Yeah, I don't want to keep changing my opinion. I don't want to seem wishy-washy. I believe last week or the week before I said Miami's going to win the series. I'm going to stick to that. Miami's the type of team that you need to put away. You can't stay close with them because, as you see, LeBron and D. Wade can say, it's time, and just completely turn it on and score. What, LeBron and Wade had 22 straight points by themselves? I don't know, but it was ridiculous. They just completely changed the course of the game by themselves, and that's something that you can't allow the Miami Heat to do. It's a great series. I'm hoping it goes to 7 games. I know it's going to be very interesting. There's some speculation on whether or not Paul George will play in Game 3. He had a collision with Dwayne Wade. He said he blacked out, but he kept playing. He's been diagnosed with a concussion, I believe. So
I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell he was hurt at all. He kept playing, and LeBron James came out and said any player would have kept playing. That's just what they do. Because he got a lot of negative criticism saying, why did you keep playing if you had a concussion? Did you make it worse? Yada, yada, yada. But any player would have done that. Because it could have just been a head bump. It couldn't have necessarily been a concussion. But, yeah, he's day-to-day. But since this part of the playoffs is more spaced out, he's had more recovery time. So hopefully he'll be there. It's going to be extremely hard for the Pacers to win a game without him in there. He has a big presence on the court. Hopefully he recovers. Of course, I don't want him playing unless he is 100%. But Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise because I had no idea he had a concussion during that game.
Yeah, but Paul George really toughed it out. He knows he's important to the team. He knows that he's a necessary piece to have on the court. So I totally respect him for playing. Honestly, I would have done so myself. You can't take yourself out when you're one of the stars of the team. Another star on the Pacers who's totally just taken over. We talked about him just now. Lance Stevenson's playing incredible. He's honestly way more aggressive than Paul George is lately, taking it to the hoop, shooting, controlling the ball. Lance Stevenson just looks great. He looks like a star right now, and he's going to definitely one of the keys to the Pacers' success. So you definitely have to respect that.
No, he's doing everything. He's shooting from the perimeter. He's going up to the basket. He's doing assists. He's doing this and that and that. He's everything. Playing defense. I mean, he turned it on in the playoffs because nobody talked much about him during the year. You know, he was shadowed. You know, he was in the shadow of Roy Hibbert, Paul George, you know, the big names on the Pacers, and Lance Stephenson, that's a big name now because he is running that court. He is dominating that team. He is the Pacers right now, and he is fun to watch. He is really fun to watch.
Definitely. Yep, and now we have to move on to a series.
You want me to try to talk about this? I know it's a sensitive subject for you.
Nah, I got it. I'll start it off. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs series is currently 2-0. The Spurs have beat us in Game 1 by 17 points, and Game 2 we lost by 35 points.
That's not a loss. That is a blowout.
Yeah, that is an absolute blowout. ESPN said that the Spurs routed the Thunder. That's a very accurate description. So let's talk about why. Number one, Serge Ibaka is out for the series. However, today there was an update that his recovery time has been upgraded. He's now day-to-day. There's a chance he may return in the Western Conference Finals. Thank God, because Serge Ibaka, it seems like with Serge Ibaka out, nobody wants to play defense anymore, and he is our best inside presence, and they are killing us inside. Clearly, Serge Ibaka is necessary. He's our best defender. We are hurting without him. I hope he can return. I hope he returns sooner than later. If we go down 3-0, I don't really know what him returning will do at that point. A lot of players just look really discouraged. So, yeah, it hurts to watch. It's honestly really upsetting.
Well, the thing that's bothering me about people, you know, I'm looking on Twitter, I'm hearing what people are saying, and they're saying Serge Ibaka isn't playing, that's why we're losing. And I feel like each year it's an excuse from the Thunder. Last year, we don't have Russell Westbrook, that's why we're losing. Yes, I understand these are big players for your team, but you are an NBA team. You need to have somebody who can play in their spot. This should not be so detrimental to the team that they are losing to the Spurs by 30 points, that they just give up in the fourth quarter and they don't even put their starters in anymore, as what happened in Game 2. That's unacceptable to me. This isn't just because Serge Ibaka is not in the game. Yes, that hurts your team, I understand. But you got to get over it. You got to bounce back, and you got to figure out a way to win. Yeah. Roy Hibbert is the Pacers' Serge Ibaka, and even though he wasn't playing well, they still found a way to do it. He might as well just have been hurt because he wasn't even in the game. He was getting 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 everything. So the way I'm seeing it is that you can't say this is the reason why. People can't be saying that. The Thunder need to own up to it, and they need to find out what is happening to them, because they're going out there, they're looking like they're trying to play street ball, and the Spurs are playing NBA ball. They're on two different levels right now. And I know there's been this video going around about the Spurs, calling it the beautiful game, and I watched it, and I've always been very negative on the Spurs. I say they're boring, they're old, they suck, blah, blah. And I was silenced after watching this video because I realized, wow, they are a basketball team. They are a team. They are a team more than any other team in the NFL. This video, at the beginning, Magic Johnson is talking, saying they play the style of basketball that we used to play in my day. And that's so true. I was thinking about it. They don't have a key star. You think of the Heat, who you're going to think of? LeBron James, Lakers, Kobe, Thunder, Kevin Durant. That's how we've been forced to think. We've been forced to want to watch a team with a superstar who's going to go dominate, do all these fun plays, dunks, and everything like that. We haven't been trained to like teams. And the Spurs are a team. they have more assists than any other team because they're just passing the ball. They don't want it. They pass it to him. Pass it to him. They make it happen. They play textbook basketball. I mean, sure, it's not exciting and stuff like that, but they are a team. And watching this video, I was just blown away because I couldn't believe the stuff I said, and I felt bad for hating on the Spurs all this time. I have a lot more respect for them now. I now see why it's so hard for people to beat them. Yes, it's not exciting. We don't see the fun dunks and stuff like that, but they get it done. Yep. It's obvious they get it done because somehow they beat the Thunder by 30 points. And there wasn't like huge dunks. You don't really see a momentum shift or anything like that. It just happens. And it's old school basketball, and that's why they win. It's because they're playing like a team, whereas the Thunder are playing like individual players.
Yeah, I also watched the video. I've always respected the Spurs. I've always acknowledged them as a great basketball team. I believe they've had 11 straight seasons with over 50 wins, so the Spurs are a great basketball team. And they're looked at as boring because they're not flashy. They don't have the LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kobe type player. But the Spurs' focal point of their team is finding the best possible shot where it's going to go in and they're going to get points and win games. It's not about crazy alley-oops, clutch three-pointers, turnaround, spin alley-oops. It's playing great basketball and winning games and scoring points. And the Spurs do that really well, clearly. Looking at this series, the Oklahoma City Thunder shot 2 for 20 from the three. Danny Green alone shot 7 for 10, so he shot better than the entire Oklahoma City Thunder team. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook just looked completely discouraged in Game 2. They both had 15 points each. They combined for 13 of 40. It's awful to watch, honestly. And though in 2012 the Spurs went up 2-0 on us and we came back and won 4 straight, if you look back at that series, we also had James Harden, who contributed a lot. Serge Ibaka wasn't injured. So it's a different season. I still have faith in Oklahoma City Thunder. I'll never lose faith in them. Until we've lost 4 games to the Spurs and the series is over, I'll still believe in Oklahoma City. But a lot's going to have to change if we're going to win this series. And
Sadly, I hate to say it, I don't see the Thunder winning the series anymore. I originally thought that they would be able to beat the Spurs, and then when I see them play, and this newfound respect I have for the Spurs, I don't see it happening. I do not think they're going to get swept. I don't think that at all. I think it's going back to OKC, the next game, they're going to win at home. I see that happening. They're going to play a lot better at home, momentum, because players like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, they rely on momentum. They rely on that crowd saying, go Thunder, go Kevin, go Russ. You know, they need that to succeed. They're going to have that at home. I see them winning a game at home. I don't know if they're going to win more than 1 game. And I hate to admit it because I wanted Kevin Durant to have a ring. I had all these big dreams for my fellow Longhorn, and unfortunately, it's just the way it's going to happen. And the Spurs are a great team, and what's unfortunate is that the Spurs are a great team, yes, but as we saw last year, they can't beat a team like the Heat. And I'm wondering why can the Heat beat them, but the Thunder can't? And that's what I'm still trying to understand. I guess the Heat can play as a team better sometimes, too, than the Thunder can. As we've seen in the Thunder through this playoffs, they are very individual. We've seen, like, Russell Westbrook just being a ball hog when he easily could have just passed it off to somebody else. He blows a little possession because of it. And I think they need to get rid of the selfishness that they have because in the NBA we've been we've been accustomed to players being the best. We talk about great players. We never talk about the whole entire team. Because when you're looking at the Spurs, yeah, there's the big names on it, but it's the whole team when you're watching the game. They're all succeeding. So I don't know how well the Thunder can make a comeback against them. I don't know if they actually can win more than 1 game against them. I don't see the Thunder going to the finals anymore. I see the Spurs going again.
Well, one thing that's going to have to change if the Thunder can make a huge turnaround. In Game 1, the other 3 starters besides Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook had 5 points. In Game 2, those other 3 starters had 4 points, so that needs to change, and hopefully things can turn around. But before I get too upset, let's move on. This week, Mark Cuban opened up about his personal prejudices in relation to the whole Donald Sterling thing that's coming up. He made a statement on how he has his personal judgments when he sees a black person with a hoodie or a white person with a lot of tattoos. I think that what he's trying to say is that people in glass houses can't throw stones, as humans, we all judge people. We all have our own personal prejudices. Donald Sterling was just the one to come out and express them. Well, not really come out. He was kind of trapped into it, but his beliefs were publicized. I think that with Mark Cuban saying this, I'm not entirely sure if he's going to vote that Donald Sterling should sell the Clippers. I'm interested to see how he votes along with the other owners. So I don't know. We'll see. What are you thinking, Joe?
He's gotten a lot of negative backlash for what he came out and said, but honestly, I respected it a lot because it's the truth. As human beings, we all have our prejudices. We all have our thoughts. We all, stereotypes are normal, and it sucks, but that's the way life is. And for him to acknowledge that, for him to come out and say, yeah, we're all like that. It's honest. It's the cold, hard truth. People don't want to hear it. People hate the truth like that. We all like to think we're all angels and such. But he was honest and he was real, and I respected that a lot because it's the truth. We all do. It doesn't matter how great you feel you are, if you feel you're colorblind, yada, yada, yada. You see somebody with, as he said, a white person with tattoos, you're going to make a judgment. Just because that's just how we are. That's the life we've become accustomed to. And so I respected him for coming out and saying that. A lot of people were really upset with that. I think the point behind it was a great point to make. I really do. And, Donald Sterling was set up. V. Stiviano went on Dr. Phil, and she was saying that they did not have a romantic relationship, and Dr. Phil said, then why did he buy you 3 cars and a house? So there's a lot of weird stuff going on in that whole situation, something we'll never understand. She said she did record the conversation, but her friend released it. Again, messy situation that we don't need to get into. Donald Sterling, it came out this morning that he is going to allow his wife to work on selling the team. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going on because he's saying he still wants to fight them about it. It's messy. I've told the NBA to just chill out because it's not a problem they need. Why is there so much focus on this? This should have been dead and gone already. I think Mark Cuban, from his comments, he will vote. He will not vote in favor of forcing him out because I think he understands. And I think that's the reason I said a lot of people won't force him out is because they know. You need to understand your flaws, and a flaw that everybody has is that we all have personal prejudices against some other type of person, whatever. And that's the reality, and I think these guys will notice that, these team owners, that's what I'm talking about, guys, they'll notice that, and they'll see, if this came out about me saying something like that, I wouldn't be happy. They've all said something, I'm sure of it. Every person in the world has said something if that came out publicly, ooh, you'd be in hiding. You'd be a little scared, and that's how Donald Sterling is right now. It's life, man. Mark Cuban was smart enough to say it's life. It happens to me. It happens to all of us, and so I don't see this force out happening. I don't know what's going to happen with the Clippers. I'm really sick of this. I really just want us to be talking about the playoffs. I don't want to keep hearing Donald Sterling v. Stiviano. I don't want to keep hearing all of this. It needs to be done. Adam Silver, just let it go. That's what I've been saying, is just let it go. But no one listens to me.
Don't worry, Joe. We'll move on. We don't have to talk about Donald Sterling anymore. Now for some NFL. 50 U.S. senators endorsed a letter that was sent to Roger Goodell to change the Redskins' name from the Redskins. There's a lot of Native American implications in that name. A lot of people are offended by that. I understand that. Obviously, there weren't any negative intentions in naming the Washington Redskins the Redskins, but at the same time, if people are offended, then that's going to hurt the NFL's business. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm not entirely certain that the name will change, but if 50 U.S. senators supported it, then it's definitely going to get Roger Goodell's attention. So,
yeah, I don't know how the changing names works. The Redskins owner has said he's not changing it. A lot of people don't even know the implications behind the term Redskins, so it's offending a certain amount of people, Native Americans in the country, which it shouldn't be happening. I just don't know. As you said, I don't know what goes into having to change the name. It seems like it's going to be kind of hard because Redskins have been around for a long time. Everybody knows them as the Washington Redskins. It's going to be hard to change that name, to get accustomed to that. We've had this I mean, there's a ton of teams, high school teams in the country that have very questionable names. I know there's a high school in Texas that their mascot is the Cotton Pickers. There's stuff like that. I mean, and that's something that everybody gets it. But I don't. If someone's offended, you need to. If it's this big of a group of people offended, you should try to change it. But if the owner is stubborn, then I don't know what you can do about it.
Exactly. Moving on, the Indianapolis Colts are just having substance abuse issues all over. First, with owner Jim Irsay, Ryan Clark, one of our favorites, came out and said how he is completely displeased with Roger Goodell and the way he's treating the situation. If you go back a couple years to Ben Roethlisberger's sexual assault issues, before he was even charged with anything, Roger Goodell threw him a 6-game suspension, which was later reduced to a 4-game suspension. Jim Irsay was clearly found with prescription drugs in his car that were not his, along with $29,000. So Ryan Clark is like, why is Jim Irsay not being punished? And then he made an interesting point saying that Roger Goodell does not want to upset the people who he works for, because these are all team owners, and technically Roger Goodell is kind of under their authority in a very unique way. So Ryan Clark.
That's what I said about the NBA. That's what I was trying to explain, is the commissioner doesn't have much power over the owners. I was happy Ryan Clark said, because we were all thinking it when they were showing the NFL draft and they were showing the Colts draft room. I was what is Jim Irsay doing in there? I thought he was supposed to be in rehab. I thought he was supposed to be this and that and that. There needs to be something, Again, Goodell doesn't have much power over the owners, but he needs to do something, because why is it okay for the guy with the money owning the team to go and do the same stuff that the players are doing, and the players are getting suspended for it, fined for it? I feel you, Ryan Clark. That's why you're our favorite, almost ESPN analyst.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to get hired very soon. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't. And then another Colts player, actually, Robert Mathis, has a 4-game suspension for the usage of Clomid. He was trying to increase him and his wife's fertility. That is an illegal substance. He said he should have checked to see if it was illegal before using it, obviously. So that's going to hurt my Colts for a little bit. No owner's not really affected that much, but no Robert Mathis. He was great last year. So 4 games without him, we'll see how we do. I'm sure we'll be all right, though. The Seattle Seahawks paid a visit to Barack Obama this past week. We know they won the Super Bowl. They presented him with a 12th man banner. He shouted out Richard Sherman. He said, "I will not give you the mic because we have to leave soon." He also shouted out Marshawn Lynch for the way he handles the media. Marshawn's mom sent him a text about it. Marshawn just said LOL. He's currently mourning the death of someone in his family, so he was not in attendance, unfortunately. That made Mr. Obama really upset. But Seahawks meeting Obama, that's big. That's big. And notice that they presented him the 12th man banner rather than just a regular jersey. So that's pretty unique. Really happy about that. Brandon Marshall this week calls the trade that sent him from the Dolphins to the Bears in 2011 life-saving and career-saving. We know early on in his career he had a lot of off-field issues. He was good on the Dolphins, but he just didn't feel completely at home. He went to the Bears and he's flourished. He's taken over as Alshon Jeffrey's mentor. He's become very unselfish. He's taken a stance for mental health awareness. So he's doing a lot of great things in the community. I think that going to the Bears has been a great move for him. Very happy for him. He's a very good receiver. A really funny story that I want to get into, a discussion over the best running back in the NFL between LaShawn McCoy and Adrian Peterson. LaShawn McCoy spoke to Stephen A. Smith recently and was asked who the best running back in the NFL was. He hesitated a little bit and then said, "It's me." Adrian Peterson responded to those comments and said it was funny. He said it sounded like LaShawn McCoy didn't believe himself, and he said, "Next time you say something like that, say it with your chest."
Yeah, I saw Adrian Peterson goes, he didn't mean that. I am an Eagles fan, as you all know. I love LaShawn McCoy, I do. But I also love Adrian Peterson. Since he went into the NFL, I was finally allowed to like him because he is a Sooner, and I was so happy because I love him. He's probably one of my favorite players in the NFL. And after I read that LaShawn McCoy said that, I rolled my eyes. I understand what you're trying to get at, but no, there is only one, and it is Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson is already into the Hall of Fame. It's done. You might as well just give him the plaque. It's done. It's cemented. Yes, LaShawn McCoy will be there, but it's not to the same level. LaShawn McCoy is the second best running back in the NFL. I'll give him that. But the first is Adrian Peterson. No one is better than him. I can't even put it into words. There's no one greater than Adrian Peterson at the running back position right now. It just, you got to know when to be quiet, LaShawn, and this was one of those times. I know you don't believe you're better than Adrian Peterson. You are very good. You're better than the rest, but not Adrian Peterson.
LaShawn McCoy does have an argument, though. He's a two-time first-team All-Pro running back. I can't really compare. I mean, Adrian Peterson is the best just based off of ability, but they both play differently. LaShawn McCoy will cut and get by you. AP will run right through you. Unfortunately, those two
teams. Peterson can do everything. And the way I see it is LaShawn McCoy is a great football player. He is. He's amazing. But you cannot compare yourself to somebody who is not even human. Adrian Peterson is not human. He's basically a bionic man. He is incredible. You can't compare yourself to that. You just got to know when to give it up. You're the best human running back, okay, LaShawn McCoy, but there is a bionic man ahead of you, and that's Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, we can definitely give him best human running back as a title. Unfortunately, those two teams do not play this season, so we can't see their styles against each other. But the Vikings and Eagles might see each other in the playoffs with Teddy Bridgewater getting picked up. The Vikings very well might turn things around, and we know the Eagles will be in there with Nick Foles as their quarterback. I see a lot of
the Vikings finally signed Teddy Bridgewater, as I said in the draft. You still have to sign the players, and that's what they did this week. They're wasting no time. Teddy Bridgewater is officially a Minnesota Viking for the next few years.
Yep, can't wait to see what he does. Moving on to some talk about the NFL draftees to wrap up. Jacksonville Jaguars plan to sit Blake Bortles for his rookie season so he can learn under Chad Henne. Completely support the decision. I didn't think the Jaguars would be successful anyways with Bortles or Henne starting, but I don't think Bortles is ready. So great decision. Looking at the Browns training camp, my boy Johnny Manziel has been very impressive. He had one day where he was inconsistent, but he's learned the playbook already. He's been quiet in the locker room. Coach Mike Pettin is very impressed with him. Coach Mike Pettin also said he wants a fierce competition between Hoyer and Manziel. He doesn't want them to be friendly. He wants it to be a intense competition where it's a clear starter at the end of the summer. So I can't wait to see what happens with that. I'm sure Joe has something negative to say about Johnny, so we can.
Oh, I got you. Don't worry. It's funny you said he's been quiet because one of the veterans on the team said that rookies should be seen and not heard talking about Johnny Manziel. That he wants Johnny Manziel to sit down and shut up and just play the game. He needs to be out of the media. There's some hoax right now about a sexual harassment lawsuit against Johnny Manziel. That's going around. Johnny Manziel also came out that during the NFL draft, while he was sitting in that green room drinking beer and then water and crying to himself, he actually texted one of the coaches for the Browns and said, "I'm ready to play for you. Come get me." And I don't think that should be allowed. You can't just ask a team to come and get you. I don't see why that's okay. That's the only reason he got drafted, because otherwise he would have been sitting there for a while. And when I read that, I was just blown away. You shouldn't be able to do that. You can't just text somebody and say, "Hey, come get me." That's not how it works. They're supposed to want you. They didn't want him because they were going to just keep on moving.
Really? The Browns didn't want him? Really? Because I read that he was at the top of their list in terms of quarterbacks to draft. I think it was...
Well, then why was he sitting there till the 22nd pick, and why did he have to text them and say, "Come and get me"?
Because the Browns had more immediate needs. They had Brian Hoyer already, so they wanted to pick up a defender. Now they have Johnny Manziel, and now they have some great competition, and Johnny Manziel is going to end up starting. I completely support him texting the Browns coach. It shows
that shouldn't be allowed. Roger Goodell, make that illegal. You cannot text the team. They have to initiate conversation with you.
No, absolutely not. I think it should completely not be illegal. I think that it's great that he's in contact with a quarterback coach. It's someone who he's going to be working with later on. I think that every quarterback in the NFL draft should know every quarterback from every NFL team. They should be in close contact because that's who they're going to be.
Know them, but they shouldn't. The quarterback should not be texting the coach and say, "Hey, come and draft me." That is not okay.
So to tell me what's
not okay to me. I'm sorry. I don't think that's okay. It wouldn't have been okay if any other player did it. Not just because it's Johnny Manziel and I don't like him. if anyone else did it. If I found Jadeveon Clowney, I mean, he wouldn't have to do that. Let me pick another player. If I found out Sammy Watkins texted and said, "Hey, come draft me, I'm bored," like, no, that's not okay. You cannot do that. You can't do that. That's cheating.
Okay, Johnny didn't say that he was bored. Come get me. He said.
Okay, that was the moral of the text. He was feeling lonely, and all of these A&M players went before him, and he was sad, and he wanted to get drafted. He wanted to be like everybody else. No, that's not okay to me. You can't text. You can't text the coach. You can't do it.
No, that's not the moral of the text. The moral of the text is that Johnny wanted to play for the Cleveland Browns. He said,
he was just desperate for a team. He did not want to play for the Browns. He just wanted someone to pick him up, and he just goes to the first number. He was like, hey, you know, the Browns are pretty desperate, as they always are. Maybe they'll pick me up. He was desperate, and he just went and texted. I'm sure that was not the only team he texted.
I believe that was the only team he texted, because nothing came out about him texting the Vikings. Nothing came out about him texting the Jaguars early on. He texted the Browns. If there's some texts flying around to other teams, I want to see them. He texted the Cleveland Browns, said, hurry up, come get me. I want to wreck this league together. He knew that that's where he wanted to go.
It shouldn't be allowed. That's what I'm saying. I don't care if it's Johnny or if it's anybody else. If a Longhorn player did it, I'd just be just as mad. You can't do it. You shouldn't be able to text a team and ask them to come get you. You just shouldn't. That's just how I feel about it. Point blank. You shouldn't be able to do that.
That's fair. We'll see what Roger Goodell does, but just a little bit more about Johnny. He's been taking third-team reps for now, but he's also been taking some second and first, so let's not get too excited about that. In a conference call after being drafted, he expressed how honored he was to be part of the Cleveland Browns. He's been a winner everywhere he's been, and he wants to continue that with the Browns, so he plans to work very hard.
He's been a winner? I want to see those championship rings he has then. Wait, he doesn't have any.
I mean, you don't need championship rings to be a winner. If you win games, you win bowl games, you're still a winner.
He didn't win all games, because then he would have been in the national championship. There you go.
I mean, winners also lose games too. I mean, LeBron James was a winner before he won his first ring. He made the Cleveland Cavaliers very successful. He had a very successful first season with the Heat before he won his.
No one gave him the credit he has now. Remember how everybody said, "Don't go to LeBron for $1 because he's not going to have that fourth quarter."
Yes, but he still was very successful. He was still considered the best player in the NBA, despite the fact
not to the degree he is right now.
True.
He got a lot more respect from everybody once he got that first ring.
Okay, yes, rings do make you more of a winner, but you can be a winner without having championship rings. That's my point.
He wasn't in the discussion like he is right now. He just wasn't. The rings changed it all. So, Johnny, show me those national championship rings if you're going to call yourself a winner.
That's fair. Well, we'll see. We might see a championship ring. Super Bowl championship ring within the next 10 seasons. Who knows?
10 seasons.
Browns are definitely going to the playoffs. I've said it already.
They're not going to the playoffs.
Thank you for joining us on another Friday. I'm going to cut Jill off before she tries to keep this going. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. Have a lot more basketball and NFL to talk about. So, again, thank you, and we'll see you.